This is Show Jumping 101 with Megan Vainosky with MV Equestrian Ocala.
Louisa Barton here for the Horse Talk Show and the CEP's Equine Initiative. We're trying to keep you as educated as we can. And obviously annually, every year, we do an Equine Industry Expo, which Megan from MV Equestrian is part of. And part of that is learning about the industry. We really encourage young folks and this next generation to get involved, and we call it from mucking to media. You know, we have people who learn about horses because they're photographers or videographers, and then we have people who learn about horses because they want to be actually within the industry working with that four-legged animal. And we just feel like, first of all, we certainly don't want to put you off being a trainer, because it comes with massive rewards and huge endorphins when you see students succeed and horses succeed, or when you buy a horse and resell it and it's just a wonderful, gone to a wonderful home and it's learned everything you want it to learn. There's so much good. Right?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
and I want to preface it with so much good, because we do want to encourage people, but we also want to be realistic with, hey, if you know what the challenges are, you know, and it makes me think of Tick Maynard, who wrote a book.
Yes.
And he put all the challenges of upcoming, you know, through the ranks and what it's like and what you have to deal with. And we love people, but we do have challenges with people, sometimes more so than the horses, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk about some of the great things. Obviously, you've had some wonderful rewards in your career so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then share with us some things that realistically that you do have to face taking on a career being a trainer.
Yeah, I mean, touching on what you said, being able to network and connect with people, like she said, we love people, we really do. We wouldn't be in this industry if we didn't have some sort of love and appreciation for humans. But with that being said, you still have to deal with a lot of different personalities, and there are going to be times where person A and you do not get along, and that's okay. You just being able to
recognize it.
Yeah, recognize who isn't exactly vibing with you. Even if you're still working with that person, you just need to learn to work with them, not against them. That's going to bite you in the rear. This is a huge industry, yet a small industry, so putting your back against everybody and it's just me against the world is not exactly the way that you should be doing it. I did that when I started out, and it becomes lonely really fast, and you realize that you can't do this alone. It's really hard. You need to have a solid group of people behind you, a solid support system that is not only going to hold you accountable for your faults and things that you're not doing correctly or things that you need to be educated more on, but somebody who's going to keep you going, keep you lifted instead of dragging you down. Excuse me. You know, horse trainers, we are not like plumbers. We are not a necessity. This is a luxury career. So right off rip, you need to be thankful that you can do that you can even think about doing a career that's a luxury, because here in Marion County, we are Starbucks. There's a horse trainer on every corner. We're everywhere. There's not a short of us. So that's another thing you need to think about when you're starting is, hey, where am I at? My demographics. I'm in Marion County. There's 80 bajillion of us in a 5-mile radius. So being able to bring something different to the table is something that you want to think about. So for instance, I'm an old vet tech, old sport medicine tech. I have a lot of certifications in the sport medicine and rehab industry. And that in itself helps me with the young horses developing, rehabbing a lot of horses. I get a lot of horses that, they've popped a splint or they need some sort of rehab. I have the education and the tools to do that, whereas a lot of other places might not have those tools and education, but will still say, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, and I like that about you, because there was a day you came actually to ride my horse, Flan, and you actually decided not to because you noticed something was a little off, and you let me know he was a little off, and I drove out here to look at him because I knew I'd have a better day if I looked at him and made sure he was okay, and we even gave him a little Banamine and just to make sure, and whatever it was passed, fortunately. But Anne had noticed he was slightly off his food as well for a couple of days. So, there probably was a little bit of something starting, but you picked up on that very quickly. And if you have that background, I think that really helps. And it makes me more comfortable knowing if he's a little off, you're not going to ride him. You're going to look at him and let me know, something's not quite right.
And
that matters.
And going back to our grooming segment is, if you don't groom your horse, you're not looking at your horse. And I feel like grooming is the ultimate
Prep.
opportunity for you to look your horse over in their
That's
mouth,
your prep
in their
session.
ears. Yeah, you can see every nick and cranny on your horse, and that allows you to make those decisions and go, hey, that was here yesterday, that wasn't here yesterday, or
could be
man,
as simple as a tick behind their ear, or anything, a little cut somewhere,
or man, they, like for me, I can feel tightness in their legs because of my experience and education in the sport medicine field. I can put my hand on a horse's legs and go, oh, you know, I feel a lot of heat.
And you
I
did
feel
that
a
day
pulse.
with Flynn.
I
you
feel
were like,
that
he's
he's
tight.
tight. You know, I can feel little things like that, and that's really important as a horse owner. You need to understand what your horse's normal is, so when they're abnormal, you're like, huh.
Good to know what their vitals are usually, what their heart rate is usually, all those things. And very good to have a thermometer on hand as well, so you can even check their temperature. All those sorts of things are really important. So that background gives you kind of a little bit of an edge. And now for me, something that really gives you an edge over anybody else I would want riding Flynn is the way you love horses. So I see Flynn, I mentioned it in my riding segment with you when I had my first lesson in 30 years. And I must have been like 6, by the way, last time I had a lesson. Just kidding. But seriously, seeing you love my horse, seeing you give him a treat, you know, and you don't over-treat, but you do let him have a treat when he's done a good job. You know, afterwards he's done a good job, he gets a treat. You love him, you clearly love him, and he clearly loves you. So that gives you an edge over any other trainer that would be riding Flynn for me, because I want my horse to carry on with the same personality he's always had with me. So you've got to make sure you're on the same wavelength as the owner, because the owner wants you to kind of mirror them in behavior and treatment, because they don't want a different horse back at the end. Now they might want a different horse, obviously, if there's a problem, but I didn't have a problem. So I didn't want a different horse. I wanted him to learn other disciplines, which you've done beautifully. I wanted him to be as versatile as possible, because, you know, nobody's promised tomorrow, and everybody wants to think that their animal would have a good place in life if they weren't here anymore. And so I feel like getting a horse as rounded as possible helps that horse have a future career either with you or somebody else. And so that's important. And then the other one thing I think I would really overemphasize is ethics. And that is, you have to be ethically on the same level. If your owner of the horse you're training wants something that to you is unethical, then obviously you're not the right trainer.
Yeah, absolutely. I've turned plenty of people down. I'm again, sport medicine, rehab. I am well aware on how horses grow, what the last part of their body is to grow, which if you're not aware is their spine. So when I have people wanting me to get on their 3-year-old and jump it, I'm not going to do that. And I'm very upfront with that. I will not do that. That's something I won't compromise. I will 1000% work with your horse, groundwork. I will not sit on it. I might sit on it to get a sale video. You know, some people, excuse me, just want to see that I can get on this 3-year-old and it's not going to take off with me and do anything naughty. I totally get that. But I don't consecutively or consistently get on a horse until it's pushing 4.5. You know, 4, I'll start.
So really, Flynn is just almost 5. He's perfect.
He's
just
right
at the right age
perfect
to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that at first I found myself kind of wanting to falter on, because those were the only people that I were getting. And I'm glad I didn't. Hold your ground. Do not
stick with your principles.
Do not falter in who you are. Again, there's a million of us out here. There's somebody else that will take that horse and do whatever with it. And God forbid anything happens, that's something that you don't have to worry about, because that's not something that you partook in. So that's a big thing for me. And the biggest thing for me, and that's what I'm like, my current struggle bus is right now, is I didn't come from money. I didn't have $100,000 just sitting aside. So when I started this business, I could just go buy a big, beautiful facility, concrete barn, and all of this. You need to make sure you have time for yourself. That's the biggest thing. Have time for yourself, because if you can't have a day, then your horses aren't going to have a good day.
That makes sense. Make time for yourself. I need that lesson too. Get rested up. Louisa Barton here with Megan from MV Equestrian.